Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Vandana. We can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So hello and welcome everyone to the second day of our Global SDG Summit 2022. I am Vandana Pandey. I work with NCERT as a junior project fellow to study the status of early childhood care and education in rural India. I'll start with appreciating and thanking everyone who were a part of us yesterday. What an experience it was on day one, with so many esteemed speakers and panelists and some heartwarming and emotional discussions. Today too, we have some exciting, intriguing, and thought-provoking sessions lined up. So let us start the day with welcoming our first keynote speaker. You'll never understand true happiness until you help someone who can never pay you back, by Gandhi, is the favorite quote of our next speaker, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin McCormack hails from Australia. He is currently the principal at Farmhouse Montessori School in Sydney. He has taught for over 20 years in several countries across the world. Before training as a Montessori teacher, he has taught for over 10 years in different countries. He believes himself to be an advocate for innovative education practices and believes strongly in the development of essential skills in the students from an early age. He currently runs 2 Montessori training centers in Australia and have built 3 schools and a library in some of the most remote areas of the country. As a children's author, he was also nominated for Australian Author of the Year 2017. He writes and distributes picture books that are designed specially to educate children about the important things in life. In 2019, he was also named the top 10 most influential global educators, and 2018, he was nominated as Australian of the Year for his work in education and equality. Now, I would request Sir to enlighten us with his kind words.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for that introduction. It's very kind of you to be so wonderful with your words. I feel humbled to be here. Also, it's embarrassing to hear those things said about you. However, I feel honored that you did say them. My name is Gavin McCormack. I'm over in Australia at the moment. We've got a big storm here in Australia, so all the internet and power is down, but I'm managing to stay online to meet you all. The SDGs and the sustainability goals for the world are very close to my heart. More than ever, with the world as it is today, we need to focus on these. And I presented today, and I prepared for you a presentation around my thoughts around what education can be, should be, and will be, and how we can use the SDGs together as educators, as teachers, parents, and adults to make the world a better place to live. One thing I will ask is, if you are watching and you have a possibility of having your camera on, that would be wonderful, because it's really nice to see other people's faces while we are presenting. Okay, here goes. Let me just share my screen with you and hopefully this works. Okay. Can you see my slide? It takes a child to raise a village. Yes?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so as said by Vandana Pandey, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me here today. I am Gavin McCormack. I'm a school teacher, school principal, and I've worked in education for around 25 years. So the common phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. My aim today is to turn that upside down and persuade you that it is wrong. It's not that it takes a village to raise a child. It's the children we should be focusing on. They're the ones who can raise the village. So developing critical thinking and implementation of essential skills in the curriculum, as Maria Montessori said, model the behavior you wish to view in your children. And I've chosen this picture here today to start off the presentation. This is my little school in the Himalayas. And as you can see, these wonderful children are teaching each other. There isn't a teacher in sight, which is exactly what we need. Okay, so how can schools include the whole community when preparing our students for a future we are yet to understand? Now, just to put this in perspective for everybody listening today, A child in kindergarten today, so these children in the photograph, they will graduate into the real world in 2032. 2032, that's 12 years from now. Now, you may think to yourself that you know what 2032 will look like. Well, let me give you some perspective. 12 years ago, in 2009, there was no electric cars, Google Maps had just been invented, and the iPhone had just been released. So we might think we know what 2032 will look like, but we actually have no idea. What we don't know is the content our students will need. What we do know is the skills they will require to be wonderful human beings in this very, very complicated world. So 5 years ago, I myself decided to dedicate my time to educational facilities in Nepal. And over the last 5 years, single-handedly, I've been around Nepal building different primary schools, preschools, libraries, training centers all around the country. And the reason I've done that is not to show how great I am or show off about how wonderful my achievements are. The reason I did that was to inspire the children in my community to help me. So I asked my community, I'm going to do this, can you help? And the children reached out and they helped. They donated their pencils, their books, their clothing, teaching materials. I took them to the Himalayas. I opened and built schools. I came back and I showed my community, look what we, not me, look what we have done. And the idea behind that is to empower the students in our classrooms to feel as if they have the power to make a difference in the world. Because quite often we will watch the news, we will see what's going on around the world, and we will feel helpless, like we cannot change that. But as adults, teachers, and guides to our students, our job is to be the bridge between the child and the problem they wish to solve. At some given moment in time, it seems that a child becomes deeply interested in a piece of work. We see it in the expression on his face, his intense concentration, the devotion to the exercise. A quote by Maria Montessori. Now, this is when children are really interested in something, when they're deeply interested. Imagine you're writing a novel. Imagine you're writing a dissertation for your diploma or your degree, and you're really in the thick of it, and you're really getting down to this. You're in the flow state, you're on it, you want to succeed. And that's what we want to see from our students. But how do we get there? Well, the first thing is to think about this phrase, project-based learning. Many schools around the country, around the world, are using this phrase on their websites. They're saying it to their parents on school tours. But what actually is project-based learning? What does it look like? Does it really mean making a project? Well, no. In its simplest form, yes. But in its complex form, no. Project-based learning is the kind of education where you observe your students, where you put the student in the center of their own learning. Each child is allowed to become independent and confident, which is truly important. Mistakes are encouraged. When a child tells you they're going to try something new, our obvious objective is to step in. We sometimes step us in, no, 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 no. I know that's going to fail, but our job is to actually let them try. Because through experimentation comes wonderful, wonderful results. That's where we discover new things. Children are only competing with the person they were yesterday. They're not competing with the child sitting next to them or the rest of the children in their district. They're competing with the child they were yesterday. All I have to do to achieve is to be better than I was the day before. Equality and respect amongst adults and students is paramount. The students have a clear voice and direction to tell you what they want to do and when they want to do it. And every child has freedom and freedom within limits. Just for an example, these two boys in the picture are my students. And in a lesson in my classroom, I was teaching the human heart. I then said to the students, you can now go away and represent your research in any way you wish. These two boys said, Gavin, we'd like to bring in some lamb's hearts, dissect them, find the pulmonary valve and their aorta, and then present it to the rest of the class. These two boys are now 23, and they're both doctors. One's a vet, one's a human doctor. Because of this day when we said, yes, you can. Instead of making them write a report or do a diagram, they wanted to inspect a heart, so we let that happen. They found their niche as early as possible. Now, what happens when our students are really interested in their work? What happens when they have a desire to learn? Well, determination is what happens. Now, let me give you some perspective here, and this will be really, really obvious to anybody who's been alive for the last 2 years. In the autumn of 1937, a rapidly spreading virus with no known cure, and this was polio, made it dangerous for children to attend school. Very similar to COVID-19, however, this was affecting students, not adults. Now, at the time, even today, for some of the hardest to reach students, radio was the way out of this. The British government reached out to 14 of the best teachers they could find. In fact, 14 of the best storytellers they could find. They got them on the radio and they publicly broadcast their lessons across the country. BBC World went worldwide. Students in Madagascar, in Moldova, in Algeria, and even as far as Western and Eastern Russia were tuning in and learning during this global pandemic. And the reason I tell you this is because when students are really interested in their work, when you've got them, when you've got their hook, it doesn't matter whether you're standing at the front with an iPad, you're on the VR, or you're distributing knowledge over the radio. When they are interested, they will want to learn and they will be self-inspired. Our job as educators and as human beings is to find the child's hook. Okay, now you might think, what is the child's hook? Well, the hook of a child is their main objective in life. Now, maybe they don't know that because they're only 6, 7, 8, or 9. But our job as adults is to sit with those children and listen to them, to find out what it is that makes them tick. What is it that they want to be when they're older, but they don't know yet? Let's say they're interested in dinosaurs, mathematics, science, comic writing, or building models. They are all clear signs that a child might want to be a historian, an architect, a paleontologist, but they don't know it yet. Our job is to find that out. And when we do find that out, we have to make sure that we incorporate that into the child's life somehow. And you may be thinking, why have I got myself a big air warcraft on the screen? Well, I was walking through the jungle over here in Australia with a group of students. And in the distance, I saw what I thought was a Lancaster bomber, a British bomber doing a test flight. I stopped my class of 7-year-olds and I said, hey, everybody, look in the distance. It's a Lancaster bomber. One little boy, 7 years old, popped his hand up. He said, Gavin, I think you'll find that's a C-19 Globemaster 3. You can tell by the shape of the engines. He corrected me, and he was right because he wants to be a historian. And as soon as I knew that, it was my job to incorporate history and World War I, World War II, the Cold War, the Falklands War into his education, because that's what he wanted to be. Now, when we truly understand the potential and the power of influence, the feelings of others, they naturally want to help. These are 2 students from my school who wanted to help me build schools in Nepal. They put a suitcase out and they started to collect things from the entire school. My job was take this to Nepal and show these children the difference they had made. Now you see that boy there, he's 7 years old. He's popping his pencils into that suitcase. They're from his house. My job is to show him the impact he had. So 6 weeks later, after I built a school in the Himalayas, I came back. The boy on the right-hand side, that is his first ever drawing. He'd never seen a piece of paper until that day. And his first ever drawing with those pencils that the 7-year-old boy collected was then completed. My job was then to come home to Australia and tell that boy, look what you've done. Because you collected those pencils and I took them to the Himalayas, this little boy here, 14,000 kilometers away, drew his first ever picture. The 7-year-old boy at my school said, Gavin, I want to collect some more things. And that's our job. That's our job as educators, as adults, is to empower the students before us to understand the difference they can make. We need to be the bridge between the child and the change. And if we are that, we will empower our students to graduate and be wonderful human beings in the future. Now, this is the most important slide of all today. Maybe not the most inspiring, but the most important. This is to do with teaching, this is to do with parents, this is to do with education. In the top 3 boxes, you will see that teachers can differentiate those 3 things at any given moment they wish. They can differentiate the content they are delivering. They can differentiate the process in which they deliver it. and they can also differentiate the product. What do they want for their students? In the bottom 3 boxes, you will find every objective of every adult for their students. Number 1, they want them to grow, not physically, academically, socially, mentally. They want them to grow. We want our students to be motivated, and we want them to be efficient with time. It's the middle 3 boxes which are the most crucial that we need to take heed of. Number 1, are your students ready for the lesson you are about to give them? If they are not ready, emotionally, socially, or academically, you don't teach it. It's a no. Number 2, what are their interests? Do you know your students sitting before you, and are you incorporating the knowledge and the understanding that you have of them into the learning they're about to take on? And number 3, do you know what kind of learner they are? Are they an introvert? Are they an isolated learner? Do they like to work in groups? Do they like to work in pairs? Are they a leader? Are they quiet? Are they loud? Do they like to communicate? Do they not? What kind of students do you have before you? And then have you set up your classroom or your learning environment to suit their needs? Once you have the middle 3, everything falls into place and the holistic education journey takes place. Now, the learning environment is key for our students, and this goes for parents at home, and this goes for adults in school. On the left-hand side, you will see a classroom from my school, a Montessori Children's House. There is no teacher visible in the room, but there's a lot of learning taking place. There's a lot of individuality, there's a lot of independence, there's a lot of uniqueness going on right here. There's communication, there's movement. It almost looks like the Google head office, where there's a lot of work taking place and everyone's self-guided. Look on the right-hand side. This is the Airbnb head office in San Francisco, one of the most profitable, innovative companies on the planet. I don't know about you, but I can see a very strong correlation between those 2 environments. Both of them are geared for motivation, growth, and efficiency, and none of them are centered around an oracle standing at the front leading the way. They are both centered around trust and independence, and that is what we need to give to the students of today to prepare them for the world of tomorrow. And I want to finish by telling you a very short story. I hope you have some tissues ready, because this one is a tearjerker. Now, these are 4 girls from my school. They are 10 years old. They came to my office and they said, Gavin, we're inspired by all of the work we've been doing in Nepal. We want to change the world. I said, oh, girls, it's a very big job. Changing the world, and you're only 10 years old, you're taking on a big challenge. They said, Gavin, we've been researching Burma or Myanmar as one of our projects, and we've discovered that Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar are being persecuted, and we have some refugees who are coming here to Australia, and we want to help them. I said, this sounds amazing. Now, the girls obviously have 4 names, and they've named themselves CAMP, C-A-M-P, and that's an acronym taking away the first initial from each of their names. They gave themselves a name. They started their own charity. Now, I said to them, girls, it's very exciting that you want to change the world, but it's going to be very difficult. There's a lot to tick off here. So the first thing they decided to do was to come up with a plan. Now, when we allow students to follow their passion, to find their niche, and to work with true intention and purpose, the essential skills that will set them up for life are taught not by us, the teachers, but through experience. In fact, it's almost impossible to teach a child determination unless they have to go through something difficult and show determination. Let me show you the girls' journey. This is a really good one. So they decided to help the Burmese refugees. They were going to give them a really good start to their first day at school. So they needed $500. They asked me, Gavin, we need $500. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't give you $500, but you can raise the money yourself. So they decided to have a bake sale. They make some cakes and sell the money to raise $500. With the $500, they wanted to buy some backpacks. With the backpacks, they wanted to fill them with secondhand goods for schools like pencils and books and lunch boxes and rulers and cagoules and umbrellas, and then provide them to the students on their first day arriving in Australia. So first of all, they started their research and they started to wonder what they could do. The second thing they did is they invited in a group of mums. These mums were 40 years old, and they made a PowerPoint presentation all on their own, and they pitched their idea to these mums. They told them what they wanted to do. The mums Two of the mums were crying, and one of the mums was definitely involved. And so she got the community involved straight away. So immediately persuading the community to help along the way. I don't know about you, but I can see a lot of education in here hidden. It's not in a lesson. It's not a grade. There's no points. There's no scores, but you can see what they're doing. They're learning academics alongside real life. The next thing they did is they had a bake sale. They then raised the $500 and they bought the backpacks. Now you can see the blue backpack in the background. Now I said to the girls, look, be careful when you reach out to the community asking for donations, because everybody will give you their rubbish. Everybody will give you the things that they don't want. And they said, Gavin, don't you worry about it. We made a list of the things that we will accept, and we're putting one of these in every single backpack. The girls then stood outside school every morning for 2 months. And they got every single family to take home a backpack. 140 backpacks went home to 140 families. They were canvassing the parents, telling them why they needed to help. Did you know what's happening in Burma? I heard them saying, and this was amazing. 140 backpacks went home and 140 backpacks came back, each and every one filled with everything you could dream of that a refugee child would love on their first day of arriving in a new country. I asked the girls, why did you choose 3 colors? And they said, Gavin, the green ones are for 3 to 6 year olds, the black ones are for 6 to 9 year olds, and the blue ones for 9 to 12. We've organized everything inside, so it's age appropriate. Now these girls are 10. These girls are 10 years old. This is executive functioning gone wild. So we could have stopped there. I could have said, thank you, girls. I'll take the backpacks and I'll deliver them. But we didn't stop there. I said to the girls, how are you going to get these backpacks to the people who need them? And they said, Gavin, can we use the telephone? They came into my office, they used the telephone, and they called up the 2 organizations on their own who run charity work for Rohingya Muslims. And they invited them into school to interview the CEO of each organization on their own. On the left-hand side, one organization, and you can see he's not doing a very good job because the girl's got her arms folded. He has not persuaded them that they should be giving the backpacks to him. On the right-hand side, the House of Sakina, they were very, very forthcoming, and the girls chose the ladies on the right-hand side, the House of Sakina. Now, I said, why did you choose this organization? And the girls said, Gavin, we are women, and that organization is run by women, so we want to support women in the community. Who am I to argue with these powerful young ladies? So off they went. The ladies came with a bus, and the girls loaded the bus filled with these wonderful backpacks. Now, the circle of learning is when we show our students the fruits of their labor. We say to them, look at all the work you did, look at all the effort you made, look at the difference that you have created. Now, we could have let this bus drive away, and that could have been the end, but we didn't. We made sure that the girls saw what they've done. So when the refugees arrived from Myanmar, they went to Darwin in Northern Australia, and they came to the airport and they sat in a waiting room. When they were there, the House of Sakina turned up and gave them their backpacks. I called the girls into my office and I said, are you ready? And they stood behind me. Then I showed them this video I'm about to show you now. And this was the first day these people had arrived here in Australia. When they arrived, they'd lost their families, they'd lost their homeland, but the one thing they knew is that somebody out there cared. Somebody they'd never met, somebody they'd never seen, had thought about them, had made a bag with a lunchbox and a new folder and an umbrella and a jumper and a dictionary and a cuddly toy and everything that you need to start off your new life. Because everything was lost, but actually everything wasn't lost. There were still people out there who cared. And I'll stop the video here because I always start crying myself. But I turned around to the girls standing behind me in my office, and they were all crying. And I said, why are you crying? And they said, we feel so good. We want to do it again. Now, these girls are 10. When they are 16, 20, 35, 40, and they're working in the industries in the world, they're leaders, political leaders, they will act with morals and ethics. They will have strong moral compasses, and they will do what's right. And this, in my eyes, is what education should be. Education is a natural process carried out by the child and is not acquired by listening to words, but experiences in the environment. And this is what we need to take heed of. One test, if you ever want to see if your educational institute is doing a good job, look how happy your students are. If they're happy, you're doing a wonderful job. The boy's smile, as he drew his first ever picture there, is something no building can ever create. No technology can ever create that smile. The only thing that can create that smile is a child feeling listened to, worth something, and heard. And this is what education needs to be. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation, everybody. It's been wonderful to share my experiences with you, and I hope that the rest of this wonderful summit is going to be highly successful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gavin. It was really, I would say, enlightening with what a community can do together. Thank you so much for that. I would just like to ask you, like, how can people get in touch with you if they want to contribute or any?
I'll put it in the chat for everyone. I have a blog that I write on, and I have many free resources there. I put it in the chat just now. I have a blog that I write, and I give free resources away every day on the internet continuously. I'm here to help if anyone needs any assistance whatsoever. In 25 years, I've worked in India, Bangladesh, Nepal, all over the world, the Middle East, China, France, Spain. I'm from the UK originally, so you know, I'm happy to help wherever required.
If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to ask.
I will add one more thing if you don't mind. I've just written and published a best-selling book on education. It's actually for sale in India right now on Amazon. It's called The Potential in Every Child. I'll stick it in the chat. If anybody's interested, then you know, you're more than welcome to have a look at that.
Can I ask a question? I had a doubt.
It's very quiet.
Hello, am I audible?
I can just about hear you, Vandana.
Hello. Am I audible to you? Hello.
Hello, yep, I can just about hear you, Vandana.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, like, how do you break the stereotypes that there are? Like, while I was working in villages with students, I could see parents and their relatives who did not want their children to study, although their children, their daughters and their sons have that potential. So how do you break the stereotype and how do you sensitize the parents there?
Look, it's a very interesting question, actually, and I've worked in some of the most rural parts of Nepal, in the mountains, that, you know, along in Upper Dalpa, a long way away from any kind of civilization, where actually families just want their students their children, sorry, to continue working on the farm and continue to help with the buffalo and taking the milk to the market. But I think once you open the mind of the family to understand that education is not just about getting good grades and passing an exam so you can go to a university and then you can leave. A lot of the anxiety for families is around their children leaving. They don't want their children to leave, you know, and when you have opportunities, quite often the world opens up to you. So the higher your grades, the better you achieve, the more options you have in the world to go over to America or the UK or Australia or somewhere else. And a lot of anxiety comes from families when they say, I'm scared that my son, Ahmed, if he gets too smart, he'll leave the village and he'll move to the big city and I don't want to lose him. And so it's about educating the parents around that, about, you know, there's two sides to this coin. Is that the way I always put the answer to that question is the world needs your son. Like there is a calling for him or her. He's got something to add bigger than this village. You know, this village is fine and he will come back one day. There's no question about that. But the world needs him and he needs the world. And you've got to give him that opportunity. You know, there's a very famous quote that says, if you love someone, then you set them free. You know, they will always come back. And it's true. It's true. And so we've had this conversation many times. And actually, very interestingly, which I'll share with you, is we often feel that in villages, especially in rural, if you go to Ladakh or Upper India or Darjeeling or Sikkim or somewhere like this, you often feel that, oh, to have change here would be a really slow process. But actually, when the children are empowered, change happens very quickly. And I've got you a really good example of this. In Nepal, most families in the countryside will have a buffalo, and the buffalo will live in a shed, you know, under a small tin roof, and will never move, will never walk, will never go anywhere. It will just stay there and used for milk, and it's fine. It seems happy. So we opened a few schools in a place called Nawalparasi in southern Nepal, and we wrote a curriculum around animal rights and what animals are allowed to do. And it was really interesting because the students came to these classes, and I wasn't teaching, but the teachers and Nepali teachers were teaching. And the children went home and said to their dad, "Hey, Dad, I think you should let the buffalo go for a walk. The buffalo's probably really sad being stuck in the shed all this time. I think we should take him for a walk around the field." And so this was, you know, in 2019. I returned to the village in 2020, and everybody was taking their buffalo for a walk every single day. And this was not me talking to the students. This was me talking to the teachers, who then empowered the students, who went home and changed the village's culture. And it was great. It was really great. And if you want to see change, empower the students in your classrooms, and exponential growth will see that thing happen. But I think it's a very interesting conversation to have, 100%, because the anxiety I feel comes from the parents and not from the students.
Thank you so much. That was very helpful. And I hope we all inculcate these words that you said and sensitize everybody so that education can pave its way everywhere. Anybody else wants to ask something? I guess there was a question in our chat.
Oh yes, what can we do to make the current education better in terms of online engagement? Yes, a really good question. I've been doing a lot of online teaching over the last 6 or 7 months. In fact, in September, I tried to educate the whole world for 1 week. I did an online school that was 24 hours a day for 1 whole week, and we had thousands and thousands of children turning up every single day. And one of the key components was to make sure that it's not just you as the teacher talking for the entire lesson. The idea with online learning, to make it more engaging, is to have a window of independence in each one of your lessons. So for example, the optimum way to teach online is to say, "Hello, everybody. Today we're going to learn about volcanoes. I'm your teacher. I don't know everything about volcanoes. How could I? I'm just a human being, just like you. But I am going to inspire you about volcanoes." And then the teacher starts to inspire the students by telling them some amazing things about volcanoes, showing some videos, some diagrams, something amazing. The children are going, "Wow, I didn't know that about volcanoes." But then comes the very important part, when the teacher says, "Okay, everybody, now the lesson's going to be over in a second. I know you still have 40 minutes left, but I would like you to go away and conduct your own research on volcanoes. You can work on your own, you can work in a pair, you can work in a group. I don't mind how you show me your research. It could be a report, a diagram, a piece of art, a PowerPoint presentation, a poster. I'm not interested in how you show me, but I am interested in how independent you can be and how engaging your presentation is when we come back." And I think the key component with online learning to make it more successful is to have windows of independence when you as the teacher are not teaching. A good teacher knows when to teach, but a great and accomplished teacher knows when not to. And that's very, very important to say, I should not be talking for the whole time in this lesson. just because I'm the teacher. Actually, there should be a huge window where my camera's off and this lesson is finished and you're away researching, finding your own way around the subject. That's the key component, and we shouldn't forget that just because we're online.
Thank you so much. Great talk, Gavin. What a wonderful eclectic mix of knowledge and oratory and the enthusiasm. Wonderful to hear you.
Thank you. It is my pleasure. I've dedicated my life to this, and actually I've worked in lots of schools across India. I've worked in Podar International School and in ICRA International School in Hyderabad and Bangalore and Mumbai. We've done some wonderful work there. But very interesting to look at Indian culture and the Indian way of education, because many families in India, they want to see those high grades, those 99%ers and grade A. And if it's not 99%, then I'm afraid it's not good enough. And, you know, we need to move away from this mindset. It's not just India. We have this all over the world, here in Australia, in the UK, in the Middle East. We're looking for grade A's 100%. And I think the modern education system in the way that we're looking at education today needs to move away from that. It's about changing from a competitive mindset to a growth mindset, to say, who are the students before me? Where are they right now? How can I get them all to move forward regardless of where they're actually sitting? And when we move to that mindset and that model, we'll see success around the world. We'll see more holistic education approach, and we'll see happier students because everybody will be attaining. It seems to me ridiculous to compare students to each other. There are so many variables. There's 15 trillion cells that make up a human being. You know, it's completely impossible to compare two humans just through one test. It just doesn't make sense to me. And once we get this through to parents, then this is the most important aspect, because parents are the ones who vote with their feet. They either enroll in a school or unenroll in a school, depending on the philosophy of the school. And so once we get this, this new way of thinking for our families at home, we'll see a change in education.
My son and daughter are listening to you and they're like pointing fingers at me. We told you marks don't matter.
Well, let me tell you, while I've got you, and I'll just take 2 more minutes and then I'll let you continue with your conference. I will tell you a quick story about something that we did in India. I attended a workshop for 4 days. I was running a workshop in India and the school had called me. I won't name the school now. They called me and said, Gavin, we want to move from a competitive mindset to a more growth mindset. Can you come to our school and can you help us? So I did. I flew all the way to India, and you know, if any school out there wants to do any of this work, I'm always ready to go, because this is wonderful work. And so we got all the parents in on the grand hall, and this school's a very big school with thousands of students. So all the parents came in, and they're all sitting there. And I said, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. We're going to talk today about what education should be. But before we begin, we're going to do a little quiz, a warm-up quiz. And the parents were like, yay, a quiz, this is going to be fun. And on the board, on the big interactive screen, I put 20 things that make a good parent. And number 1 was, I read with my child every night. Number 2 was, going to bed and waking up are calming and soothing processes. Anyway, I put these 20 things on the board and I said to the families, off you go, to these mums and dads, give yourself a score out of 5 for each of those components. So off they went. The mums and dads were all talking and some of them were arguing. You know, the dad is like, I'm definitely a 5 with reading. And the mum's like, you don't read every night. And the dad's like, yes, I do. And anyway, they compromised and they gave themselves a 3 out of 5. Anyway, after 10 minutes, every family had scored themselves for each of these components. And then I got the microphone and I said, add your scores together and give yourself a mark out of 100. Now, suddenly, the penny dropped and the families were, oh my goodness, he's going to rank us. So they added up their scores and I said, okay, if you are a family who you got 0 to 40, stand over there. And they all moved over there.
Oh my God.
If you're 40 to 70, come in the middle. And if you're 70 to 100, go over there. Anyway, the families all moved into their areas. And I said, okay, if you got 70 to 100, you're the best parents in the community. You're la crème de la crème. You're the gold stars. you're the piece de resistance.
Oh my
You're
God.
the best. You should be proud of yourself. If you're in the middle, 40 to 70, I'm afraid we don't really care about you. You're nothing. You're gray. You're good. You're bad. You're okay. We're not really bothered. Down there, 0 to 40, you're rubbish. You're the worst parents in the community. You've got a lot of work to do. I'm ashamed of how bad you are. Anyway, I stood them all there and I said, now, how do you feel? And the man in the top end, he said, I feel ashamed. And he was the best parent. He said, I'm ashamed for those guys at the bottom. I really want to help them. I said, what about the middle? And the man said, oh, we don't feel anything because we're just nothing. I said, what about the bottom? And they said, we're ashamed. We feel so bad. I said, everybody sit down. I said, now you can see, regardless of your score, nobody wins. Nobody wins. I said, here's what I want you to do. Pick one of those things on the board that you've got as low scoring and talk to your wife or your husband about how you're going to be better. So they did. And I said, that is growth mindset. We all win. Next week, we'll all be a bit better, but we're all at different places right now. And then 4 days later, boom, we changed the school from a competitive mindset to a growth mindset. And it was all about onboarding the parents and showing them actually what real life looks like.
My God, no words. No words. Meghna.
Absolutely awesome, Gavin. I've learned a lot how to approach the parents now, being a psychologist.
Be careful, it's risky.
It's
You can
very
get a bit
risky.
angry.
Very risky.
It's very risky.
I can share it with you. I can share the quiz if you like.
That would be
Please do.
wonderful.
Please do. That
We
would
need
be
it.
wonderful. Great. Thanks, Gavin. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so
Amazing.
much.
My pleasure. I hope that the day goes really well, everybody. I put the link to the book in the chat and also my blog. If you want anything, reach out to me. I'm always available.
Thanks for that.
So it was a very, very nice and interactive session. So now we would move forward with our next speaker. He's Mr. Inderjeet Singh. Inderjeet Singh is a consultant with the International Civil Aviation, Montreal, Canada, a specialized agency in the United Nations system organizations. He has served in senior level diplomatic positions in several countries of Asia, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Africa, and South America. He was selected to be among 12 Global Impact Leaders 2020 and a Global Leader 2021 among 21 leaders worldwide by an accreditation group in London. Inderjeet has recently been honored with the Doctor of Philosophy by a renowned Brazilian educational institution for his contribution in international diplomacy. He was the CEO of Indira Gandhi International Airport, New Delhi, the 16th busiest in the world and ranked world's first in operational efficiency. He's an MBA, followed by advanced management course at Oxford, UK, and aviation management from the University of California. While in Oxford, he specialized in emotional intelligence as an elective subject. Inderjeet is visiting faculty resource person to many renowned learning institutions. He regularly contributes articles on topical matters related to leadership, aviation, and behavioral sciences in some leading journals worldwide. So now I would request Sir to take and enlighten us with his kind words.
Greetings from San Diego, California. I express my gratitude to Ms. Mansi Dholakia, Dr. Ajit Singh, and Professor Afshar Alam Sir for this opportunity to share my thoughts in this summit. Thank you, Vandana, for a very generous introduction. I am humbled. I thank the audience alike and seek their active participation in the deliberations ahead. The significance of the UN SDGs as developmental goals for a bright future is undisputable and have been dealt with extensively by the speakers so far. I enjoyed listening to every word of Gavin's presentation. Let us now delve upon what the aims and objectives of UN SDGs are in the new age era the topic of my presentation. There exist several explanations, interpretations, and definitions of the SDGs. To me, the following description by Ban Ki-moon, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, fits the bill most. Sustainable development is the pathway to the future we want for all. It offers a framework to generate economic growth, achieve social justice, exercise environmental stewardship, and strengthen governance. Being a part of the UN system of organizations, I have had the good fortune of dealing extensively with SDGs in the formulation and implementation of UN-sponsored and managed physical and social infrastructure projects in several geographical locations of Africa, Asia, Southeast Asia, UAE, and South America. In my presentation that follows, I would attempt to look into the doubts and misconceptions that occasionally surface around the UN SDGs, lest there be any doubts among the practitioners, professionals, and in particular the youth, who as future leaders would carry on the process much beyond 2030. It's my strong belief that UN SDGs are a means to an end, and by no means an end in themselves. I repeat, it is my strong belief that UN SDGs are a means to an end, and by no means an end in themselves. I say so because the SDGs are organic and evolving, and would continue much beyond 2030, albeit with additions and modifications, to become more widespread in scope and all-inclusive in outcome. Unforeseen events such as ongoing pandemic and now the war in Ukraine would shift the targets and goals set in 2015 for 2030 to some extent. They may have to be fine-tuned to meet the specific operational requirements of certain regions of the world, logistics and transportation being of major concern. Mobility and connectivity take the biggest hit always. We have amply witnessed that phenomena during pandemic when aviation, my field of core competence, in particular got into a grinding halt except for essential services of medical supplies, slowdown of trade, commerce, and tourism notwithstanding. As for the myths and misconceptions surrounding the SDGs, first things first, several questions simultaneously come to mind. Are the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, only relevant where the businesses and social roots are well established? Or are they relevant only for some developed or developing regions of the world with high incomes? Or are they dependent on specific program eligibility norms? My answer to all of them is not at all. Far from it, on the contrary, the UN Sustainable Development Goals or global goals, as they are often referred to, are universal in approach and globally applicable without any discrimination whatsoever. These are a set of goals that serve as a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all on this planet Earth. I emphasize on the word all as they take into account all those on this planet. I strongly believe that the idea that some lives matter less is the root of all that is wrong with the world. It may be worth repeating this. The idea that some lives matter less is the root of all that is wrong with the world. More than ever before in human history, we share a common destiny. We can master it only if we face it together. It is noteworthy here that leave no one behind is at the core of the UN transformative promise of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. A major cause of people being left behind is persistent forms of discrimination, including gender discrimination, which leaves individuals, families, and the whole communities marginalized and excluded. In context of the pandemic, I recall having written in my articles that we are as safe as our neighbor is. In context of the SDGs, I would say that extreme poverty anywhere is a threat to human prosperity everywhere. If our brethren in Ukraine are unsafe, we all are as unsafe wherever we may be. Let us recall that poverty is a denial of human rights. For the first time in history, in the age of unprecedented wealth and technical prowess, we have the power to save humanity from this shameful scourge. Let us collectively summon the will to do it. Now, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And as the saying goes, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. What do planning sustainable development goals entail? Let's delve on it a little. They entail consequence management. Sustainable development is that which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Thus, we need to judiciously use our current resources with an eye on future requirements. I mean, this is something which we tend to forget. We have resources in a large quantity. We want to use them all together and make our life easy and more comfortable without keeping in mind that there is another generation that those would need these same resources, because resources are depleting all the time, while as generations are coming and with more requirements. Sustainable development is the masterful balance of meeting our goals without jeopardizing future generations. And when we say future generations, we can't possibly limit our vision up to 2030. Now, how do we achieve the goals earmarked for 2030 and beyond? Since we mentioned that we are not going to stop at 2030 and we have to go much beyond that. United Nations in 2015 formulated development goals to end poverty, fight inequality and injustice, fix climate change, and protect the planet, and to ensure that by 2030, the world people enjoy peace and prosperity. The 17 SDGs are all inclusive, integrated, and not mutually exclusive. They recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in others, and that development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. That's probably the underlying principle for the development and implementation of SDGs. Each country and its people have a role to play if we have to achieve these goals of a more prosperous, equitable, and sustainable world. Sustainable development requires human ingenuity and a fine balance between environment, the economy, and ethics. Amongst all these, people are the most important resource. For a real chance at meeting sustainable development goals by 2030, the presently separated for-profit and non-profit mindsets of people must become one for-purpose mindset, giving rise to a new breed of purpose-based enterprises. Sustainable workforce is defined as a work environment that looks after its employees and cares about their health and well-being. It offers its employees a good work-life balance and takes a flexible approach towards achieving goals which only sustainable leadership can offer. The relationship thus between sustainable workforce and sustainable leadership thus becomes paramount, because there is no development without leadership. It is my conviction that sustainable leadership and sustainable development are the two inseparable sides of the same coin. I mean, these two things, the two elements, sustainable leadership and sustainable development, have to go hand in hand. They are two inseparable sides of the same coin. The world is changing at a very fast pace, and all nations have essentially the need to align, collaborate, and realize that sustainability is the key. The dynamic ecosystem and the resultant impact of technology in its various formats, including the impact of the ongoing pandemic, present many challenges. This is tantamount to noting that all sectors of our society, economics, and manifestations are called upon to decode a new thinking and strategic direction to remain relevant. As part of the overall agenda, the UN has urged the nations of the world to pay special attention to the least developed countries and those facing conflicts and threats. In conclusion, To build a better world, we, the leadership, need to be empathetic, passionate, and above all, be supportive in strengthening worldwide partnerships. What we ought to generate is consensus vis-a-vis contradiction, coordination vis-a-vis confrontation, cooperation vis-a-vis conflict. The UN SDGs aim at just doing the same and more. At the end of this presentation, we are perhaps left with as many questions as there are answers, or more questions still to be answered. But then it is better to debate a question without instantly settling it them, to settle a question without debating it. I would welcome the participants to pose as many questions as they wish to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to ask something from you.
A little louder, please.
Am I audible?
Not
You are
really.
audible. Little louder if you could be.
This is better. This is surely better.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Well, I can't hear you as well. I could hear Dr. Zinat Iqbal.
Vandana, you are audible. It's just that the volume is a bit low. But you are audible. You can ask your question.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, how do you achieve work-life balance, like a sustainable workforce? Because even if we talk about it, we are not able to achieve it like that. People are still treating their work, their employees, and the people working in their organizations with not respect, and like they are not getting what they deserve. So how do you think it can be achieved?
Yes, I think this is a very pertinent question, Vandana, that you asked. And I can see in your program, you have a session on emotional intelligence. Now, I am not an emotional intelligence expert, but as you mentioned in my introduction, while doing my course in advanced management, I studied emotional intelligence as an elective subject. You see, this is where the role of leadership comes. I mean, they have to be very compassionate with their people, and they can't be harsh and use them just as they would use a computer or a machine. They ought to be they have to be compassionate. They have to have a sense of importance for their employees, and they have to look after their interests, because I mean, worldwide, there have been so many surveys done where they found that when the employees are happy, their productivity increases multifold. And with the same salary, they look forward to working more and contributing more. And more so now, when it's become really difficult for people to sustain their jobs. So I think our leaders, while they may be highly qualified, and for that reason they are picked to lead, but then they should be emotionally intelligent to quite an extent. I think that's what makes a leader a good leader or an effective leader apart from a normal leader. So to answer your question, that we ought to it's incumbent on us as leaders, the so-called leaders. I feel everybody is a leader in his own way, in his own capacity or her own capacity. Everybody is a leader. But then there are certain chosen leaders by virtue of their experience and expertise. They are placed in a position which is called the leadership position. So it is, as I said, incumbent on them to honor their people to quite an extent. And you will see that the same people would be very happy to contribute more and more and be more productive. I mean, that's what we can say about it.
Thanks, sir, for this response. I know that having an emotional quotient high is something very individualistic, and we really need to look forward to how we can just enhance this God-given capacity of being kind and humane. I have
Yes.
many people, my students, who are now in very good positions in corporates. So I always have that feeling and inkling whenever I talk to these people in my own very close circle, that they are really under so much of pressure, even if they have to attend a marriage in a family, or they have to have some issues, they have some domestic issues. They are
Yes.
not having that freedom of asking for that leave, and they create it's so much of pressure on them. So how you are by God's grace in such a wonderful leadership position, what could be done in order to change this attitude towards the employers, that and how an employee should, for example, I should not be apologetic to be asking for a couple of days off to maybe
Sure.
attend my family's marriage or anything for that matter. So
Sure.
how this should be worked out? Anything, you being in such a wonderful position and
Yes.
by
Yes.
virtue of your experience.
Thank you, Madam Zinudakpal. First of all, I must compliment you. Yesterday, I attended your session, and the couplets that you came out were remarkable. In fact, I was going through all the couplets of Rumi, and I couldn't find anything that was more appropriate than what all you said yesterday.
Thank you so much, sir.
Well, I had the good fortune of working as the CEO of IGI Airport, which is the 16th busiest in the world. And as you know, Delhi, the capital of India, is the airport there was like it's a hypersensitive airport. It's the only hypersensitive airport in the world, with all sorts of problems that are around the country and the region. I had a workforce of about 15,000 people. I'm sharing my own personal experience that after my assignment, with one assignment in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, I was appointed CEO of Delhi Airport. The first day when I entered, and I called for about 15 heads of the various departments for a kind of an orientation to know what all is happening at the airport. Each one of them, am I audible?
Absolutely, sir. Please carry on.
Okay. So each one of them was giving me a little brief for about, I gave them 15 minutes each before I thought I would go and see the entire airport myself. I thought, let me have a first-hand information as to what all they are doing. Around the 13th or 14th minute, while the officer was about to leave, he said, sir, all is well, we are all with you, but be aware of X. I said, I had a sheet in front of me, so I marked X and I said, who commented on it? It was Y or whosoever. And similar thing happened with all 15, except for 5 who were only focused on the work, trying to tell me exactly what is happening and what they expect from me to contribute in the better operational facilities at the airport. So I had a sheet of about 11 or 12 people who were condemned by some by 5, some by 6, some by 7. So I had a big problem because now I had to reshuffle them and see who would suit the bill best. But then it took me a few seconds to decide that I'm not going to go by what people have to say. I would listen to them, but I'll make my own judgment when it comes to appointing them, because I have only those 15 heads of the department. I cannot import any further, nor I can remove anybody. So I picked on the 5 so-called most notorious people, according to the assessment I was given by those 13 officers, and put them into my core management group. I said, because if they are there outside, they may be more disturbing and be a threat to the smooth functioning of the airport. But if they are in close quarters with me, I would get all the correct information, and we could all mold together and work in the same direction of making an airport very good airport. As you know, that is number 1 in the world in 75 million category now. So what I was trying to come back is that a leader, an effective leader, has to have his own mind and go by his own judgments. So if he finds somebody in distress and somebody who is reluctant to come forward to ask, like you said, some people are even scared to ask for 2 days off for the fear of either losing goodwill or losing the job. I mean, that could be the worst case scenario. So you have to inculcate that kind of a confidence in others if you are confident your own self. So I think the best thing would be to have that kind of confidence, generate that kind of confidence amongst your people that they have faith in you. And everything, as you know, and you mentioned yesterday also in some of your couplets, that if you have faith in yourself and in others, God be with you, then everything tends to get in place. The only thing is that we tend to lose faith and confidence in our own selves, and that reflects, it's law of attraction. You know, if I am not confident, I would not be seen as confident to others also, and I would always generate ill will. So that I hope answers your question.
How I wish we had more leaders like you, sir.
Oh, thank you so much.
I remember from my school days that one of my very favorite teachers, she's no more with us, Allah bless her soul, and I was a monitor, and she picked up the most notorious classmates of mine to be a co-monitor with me. And I was like, ma'am, how will I manage the class? Then say, if you manage him personally, then the whole class will be managed. And that was a learning lesson. And we shared such a beautiful bond, the other classmates of mine. And he was the one who was the devil of amongst the whole lot. But the way ma'am took care of him, and then she helped me to take care of him, he became the best of the best leaders in the whole class.
Of course, yes.
Later on, if you could trust me, sir, he was even chosen the head boy of the school.
Yes,
so that's the way things happen, I think, and it can be extrapolated to our current life as well.
Absolutely. Yes, Meghna, we all in schools and colleges have seen happening that the most notorious or the most difficult person was made the head student or the monitor, because, you know, if you can control him, everything will be controlled. So I think that is a good policy, rather than shunning people around because they don't fall in line with your thoughts. It's better to cultivate them, bring them closer to you.
And I always believe, sir, that I think the leadership should have that sensibility, because Allah has picked them up to be leaders. I always believe that if somebody is there in a position, he must be having something better than us. So I totally believe in that. So if the leader is able to pick up the right people according to their capacities, I think that organization will flourish beyond doubt. There is no question on that.
For sure.
I have a small couplet to dedicate to you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes.
I think it's like a very, very popular couplet by a very popular poet, Allama Iqbal. It is said for the best of the people around, and for the leadership per se. जहाँ में अहले ईमा सूरत खुर्शीद जीते हैं, जहाँ में अहले ईमा सूरत खुर्शीद जीते हैं, इधर डूबे उधर निकले, उधर डूबे इधर निकले. I'll translate. In this world, men of faith and self-confidence are like the sun. In this world, men of faith and self-confidence are like the sun. They go down on one side to come up on the other.
Fantastic.
They go down on one side to come up on the other. So that's the way. The सूरज है वो सूरज ही रहेगा, डूबेगा फिर निकलेगा, डूबेगा फिर निकलेगा, and the leadership goes on. Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Zinat, I would like to share one with you, and it says, मैंने अपनी जिंदगी कुछ आसान ऐसे कर ली, किसी से माफी मांग ली, किसी को माफ कर दिया. Now, for those who don't understand Hindi or Urdu, I will translate it in English. It says that I have made my life easy by forgiving those who I perceive have gone wrong, because I am not on a judgment to decide who is wrong, who is right. So Iqbal Sahib says that I forgive those whom I perceive that they have gone wrong or gone against me, and I seek forgiveness from those where I inadvertently have done something wrong. Here also he's very careful in his words that he would not do anything wrong. Most of us would not do anything wrong deliberately. So if inadvertently he has done something wrong to somebody and the other person has felt bad, he would not feel shy in seeking apology. So thank you very much. I think this session has become so beautiful with all your couplets. And thank you very much.
Again, I think, sir, everything boils down to being empathetic in Hamdard. अगर ये मन से सोच लिया जाए कि उसने गलती भी की है तो कुछ ना कुछ रीजन रहा होगा और उसको कुछ
बिल्कुल,
बताने में थोड़ा सुधार
बिल्कुल,
हो जाएगा. तो आई थिंक
जी, जी.
it's ultimately sustainability and retaining somebody as a workforce or for that matter as a part of your life only depends how
Yes,
well you are accommodating them. And we
absolutely,
have to
yes,
do that. Thanks
yes.
so much, sir. Wonderful.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed every moment of my conversation with
Sir,
you and of course with everybody.
Sir, I have a question, please. We do have some time, so
Sure.
is it okay? So, sir, I have been in the corporate for 10-15 years, like
Mhm.
before I was a psychologist.
Mhm.
And certain things that always pop up or that always trouble me and bother me is that, okay, we talk about sustainability, we talk about emotional intelligence, we are doing a lot of things around how management should be or how the workforce should be. But I still feel that the inherent politics, the inherent diplomacy, the inherent objective of profitability of the organization or something, it always somewhere kills the mission and vision of having sustainable workforce. So
Mhm.
I really want to understand how politics, diplomacy, and profitability can integrate with this concept of the SDG of sustainable workforce.
Right. Yes, it's another very, very good question. Politics, I can't assure you, because politicians, with all due respects, by and large, they don't think beyond themselves. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you
Their interest is very limited. They want to make, like they say, the hay while the sun shines. They know that they have a limited period, while as we bureaucrats or people who are in professions, we know that we are in transit. Every job that I have gone in, I knew that I am here for a cause. I am here for an objective. I'll fulfill that, give my best and move on. Because for me, in my way of management, there is nothing like top. I always feel that the top rung of one ladder, there is a first rung of the second ladder. After the second ladder, the top rung of the second ladder would lead you to the first rung of the third ladder. So for me, there is nothing like top. I always feel that we have a certain time frame to be in a part of the world, in a part of an organization, give our best on, move on. Because even, let's say I'm on the top of the Everest, I couldn't be staying there for life. I have to come down. In fact, I would hate to reach the top always, because then, you have to come down. I would rather keep on heading for top. Not only when I say I'm not really in positions, but in my own growth, in my own sensibilities and sensitivities. I would like I will probably share with you one article which I wrote very recently, and it became very popular. It was about how to be a better version of yourself, what you are today and what you are going to be tomorrow.
Yes.
So we should actually strive for that. Now, coming back to your question, keeping aside politicians for the time being, let's say I just mentioned in the passing, though we hate all these discussions about, let's say, Ukraine. I mean, just the expansionist desire of a handful, or even one person is really creating trouble for the whole world. And it's not only in this region, it's happening in India, around India. We have countries who want to get into other people's country. I mean, we have barriers. They want to break the barriers and enter into other countries. I would say barriers are very important, but let there be no barriers in our minds. Your mind, my mind, and all those who are present here should work in consonance. We have to have a balance and equilibrium between us. So leaving aside a few politicians who are always wanting to split up things, create trouble, all others are very meaningful in their approach. You people in academia, you people in medicine, we have witnessed all that's happening during the pandemic, how the doctors, how the law enforcing agencies have come forward to help each and everyone with no discrimination, without any bias towards any community or any people or any sex or age group or anything. So, the big workforce, use the word workforce, the big workforce is for progress and prosperity for all. There are a very few people whom we should ignore. But unfortunately, those people cannot be ignored because they are in a position that they can cause damage.
Exactly.
So we can always only hope and pray that good sense prevails on them before it's too late. And we have seen big personalities. I mean, people were even scared to take their names. Where are they today? So these kind of things should be best dealt as hiccups, as kind of speed breakers in our progress and prosperity. I always feel pandemic, for instance, our life is infinite. Humanity is infinite. Pandemic is finite. It came, it will be there for some time. We have dealt with SARS, Ebola, MERS and all in the past. I know this pandemic, I can't take it easy. It's a very, very hard time that we have gone through, but we can only keep our minds cool by thinking that it would go. It's just a matter of time, but humanity would be there. We people, the next generations and the next generations will be there. So if we count our blessings, I think we have much more to thank than not to thank. So
Okay.
I hope that makes sense to you.
I am mostly concerned about the integration part, like how you integrate everything, because that is the biggest challenge somewhere.
Yes. The only way of integration is to interact with people. I mean, we have to open out our minds. I mean, I should not be inhibited. I should not have this fear of opening myself to you as to what you would think about it. You will correct me if I'm wrong. And if you will agree with me, there could be only three situations. Either you agree with me or you disagree with me, or we both agree to disagree. I mean, that's fine. That's the ultimate that can happen. So what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Indrajit sir. I'm so happy that we are finally we got the opportunity to talk like this.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
And it's been very enlightening, your comments and your answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
I think Ms. Amrita wants to say something.
Sure.
Ms. Amrita, you want to ask something?
Meghna, a couple of messages in the chat box, if you could just visit that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, I'm just surfing through. Sitting through.
Good morning, all. Sorry for delayed join, but I couldn't connect. Repeatedly trying.
I'm sorry, I'm unable to listen. I can't hear what you said.
I think network issue आ रहा है.
नहीं, आपकी आवाज आ रही है अमृता जी. आप पूछें. You can use the chat box also, Amrita ji. If you have a question, you can write it there. Yeah.
एक्चुअली मैं अभी ज्वाइन कर पाई हूँ ना, सुबह से मॉर्निंग से ट्राई कर रही थी, ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाई, तो मैं नेक्स्ट कनेक्ट करती हूँ मैं अभी.
Okay. I don't think so. She has a question. She is concerned about her connection. She's just connected. Okay.
All right.
We are receiving some amazing comments from all our participants and who are listening to you. So it's
Thanks
really
to
great
all of
to
them.
have you in the Zit sir.
Thanks a lot to them. Thanks for their patience and listening to us.
Thank you so much, Indrajit sir, for being here so late for you in the night. But thank you so much for taking the time out and coming onto the platform, having such a great interaction with everyone. Thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Any comments, they are welcome.
Hello, Indrajit sir.
Hello, Dr. Ajit.
Good morning, and it was a very, very nice, talk I was hearing to you. I actually joined in middle. I'm traveling actually, but it was a wonderful, insightful session, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So what next, Gayatri ji?
Yeah, so I think we can take a couple of minutes break in between before we start our next panel. I think the next panelists are joining in. We do have Mr. Siddhant here. So I guess Ms. Nupur and Mr. Alok has to join in. So let's wait for a couple of minutes.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
If anyone wants to just go have a quick water break or something, please go ahead. We'll be starting at 12, the next panel. Also, if anybody wants to interact with anyone one-on-one, please let us know. We will open a breakout room for you so that you can interact one-on-one.
And even if anybody wants to say something about the preceding session or any expressions, whatever thing it crosses your mind, you're most welcome. We can use this 5-7 minutes to maybe have a small conversation. Yes, Hifza.
Hello.
Yes, Hifza. I'm very much.
Am I audible?
You are, beta.
Actually, you said some lines on forgiveness, and that was so beautiful. Could you please repeat those lines?
I think Mr. Inderjeet said those lines, if I'm not wrong. Or...
I was about to say that. It was sir who said that line. मैंने अपनी जिंदगी के साथ कुछ इस तरह
Yeah, sir is here. Sir
No,
is here.
no. I heard those lines from sir that मैंने अपनी जिंदगी को कुछ इस तरह आसान कर लिया, किसी को माफ कर लिया, किसी से माफी मांग ली. Those lines were good, but there were some more lines said by a lady. I think I'm little confused between Meghna Singh ma'am and Zenat ma'am. So,
okay.
If
okay, I precisely said.
Pardon?
That was the share which I had said. I had actually said one Allama Iqbal's share, which primarily is in and around the concept that how leadership works and how the faithful, besides whatever ups and downs, he or she still shines like a sun. So वो simple इस तरह से था कि जहाँ में अहले ईमा सूरत खुर्शीद जीते हैं, इधर डूबे उधर निकले, उधर डूबे इधर निकले. So in this world, men of faith and self-confidence are like the sun. They go down on one side to come up on the other. So if at all there was something else which was there, I'm afraid I must have missed it. But anyways, you may just introduce yourself, Syed Hifza Fatima, and what are your sort of impressions about the deliberations which were held? It would be wonderful to hear a youthful voice.
Oh, thank you so much. It's gratitude. Actually, I'm just a student of first year graduation. So these few lines, these words attract me so much that you people are so much informative. each and every word is so informative, it's heart touching. So that's why each and every line, your words are just attracting me a lot.
I
And
must
this session,
congratulate.
this
I must
summit
congratulate.
is so much informative, so much. Thank you so much for conducting this.
Thanks, dear. And I think that that's a huge compliment to Inderjeet Singh, sir. I have to recapitulate and recapture the whole essence, that the way he has put up the things, if any employer must be listening to it, I think he will get a big lesson of life. And if employees are listening, or anybody who is like a workforce part would get some insights at how we deal with this tough life. So as I always say,
Yeah,
may he strive.
each and every word is a lesson.
Absolutely.
Indeed, his words are lessons. So thank you so much, sir. Indeed, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, your job is done. It is a big compliment. The next generation has imbibed it.
That's
So you have
great.
done
I mean, yes, I think
job.
the intention was to bring in our fold the youth. And I mean, she's in first year of college. So Ifsa is his, and she sounds very confident. I like the way you addressed us, and wish you all the luck.
Your words have given me confidence, sir. I would love to further listen to you in my life. I would love to, sir. Each and every personality here, I would love to listen you all.
Okay, great.
Blessed to have people like you. Allah bless you immensely.
Yeah. Zinat ma'am, you mentioned
Thank
something
you.
about Karwa yesterday. That was something very good.
Okay, मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल मगर लोग साथ आते गए कारवा बनता गया.
Yeah, that's very good, and it applies so much to our way of life and work that we feel when we start something that you are probably the only one. Should you go on this concept or idea? But like you say, start your journey, and I'm sure the like-minded people will come along, and from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and that's the way the life goes on.
I know, sir, it is very tough, and most of the time you'll be called crazy, or you'll be called,
yes.
Like, I am from very pure sciences. I am from pharmaceutical sciences.
Yes.
So sometimes even I get this feeling that why do I get engaged in all these things which are not my subject? But then there will have to be certain people who would be involved. I have my worthy colleagues, Dr. Saima here, if I can see her. We have Somi Bala Thokchom, and we have Kalpana Zut. She is one very like-minded personality, and many of them. And yesterday we had Dr. Hina as well. So each one of us has got that thing, but we need to really bring it out. And platforms like this have helped us to actually connect. So at the end of the day, you are not pure scientist or pure this. You are human, and you have to get connected with all these issues.
Yeah. First and foremost, we are humans, and then we are professors and deans and students or whatever.
Absolutely.
And there's something that we all have in common are our emotions. And the suppression of emotions is very bad. Let them be out. You should have friends, family, where you can open out and tell what you feel about things. And don't feel shy to be corrected. There's nothing wrong. I mean,
so nice. One thing, if the organizers allowed, because I think we just still have a couple of more minutes. So, sir, what is your impressions about your women workforce? Do they have some peculiar problems, and how, as a leader, you look into those peculiar problems?
Oh, no, not at all. In fact, if you know, in aviation, women are now gradually coming out and holding high positions. You know, in Indian Air Force, even for combat aircraft, they have included women now. After a long time of struggle, they have come in. Earlier, their roles were up to the doctors, you know, like nurses and doctors and all in the Indian Air Force or in many armies around the world. Why Indian? I mean, since we are on a global platform all over the world, but now women are coming, but perhaps there is still some kind of hesitation, which let's admit. I mean, let's say in United States, they've been always wanting the women to come forward, the talk of liberty and all. Yet when it's never been, of course, now we have a vice president here who is a lady, but by and large, it's always been the second line in defense. It's never been in the forefront. But in aviation, I can tell you for sure, I mean, women they make the best air traffic control officers. I mean, in Delhi airport, 50% of the workforce was, when I was there, ladies. Because one, they are very hardworking. Number two, they are very polite. You know, when air traffic controllers have to interact with pilots, and pilots, when they are in distress, you can imagine if there are sparks on both the ends, how difficult it would be. So these ladies we found were very calm. They were very calm, very conscientious, and they would handle the situation. I strongly feel that ladies have a much stronger mind as compared to men.
Thanks for that, sir.
Yeah, they really have a strong mind, and I could see while at work also, they're very focused and they have a very strong mind, and they don't get disturbed as easily as we men folk get at times. You know, in the time of distress, many a times we tend to lose our balance or equilibrium, whereas a lady would probably lose it over a period of time. You know, if consistently harassed, yes, but normally speaking, they are cool and composed. So to answer your question, women have a very good future in the technical subjects even now, definitely, for sure. In United Nations, as you know, it's a big policy to hire first amongst equals are always women. I mean, if you select 4 and you find all 4 are equal and there are 2 women, the aim is to induct women more and more. So
it's very heartening to know. Thank you so much, sir.
It is happening. And I'm sure in your academia also, I mean, I'm sure ladies are making big strides.
We are outnumbering the males, both in
course.
the studentship and as well as the faculty members.
That's
again, I would say the kudos to our leadership here, and they're really, really very sensitive on this issue.
Yeah.
And of course,
somebody in the lighter vein, I saw a poster. They said if they could send one man to moon, why can't they send all the men to moon? This was in a very lighter vein, but it only reflects on the sentiments what women think about men. It was by him. He said if one could make it, why all can't make it? So
good.
Lovely interactions and good on a very lighter notes, but strong points. I guess our other panelists for the next sessions are all here.
Okay.
So with the permission, we can start the next panel.
For sure.
Thank you.
I would like to invite Dr. Ajit Singh to moderate this particular panel. And we have the panelists, Mr. Siddhant Bajpai, Ms. Nupur Shah, Mr. Alok Michari, and Dr. Fazlur Rahman. If all can switch on the videos, I would be able to spotlight you, please.
Yes, so very good afternoon, everyone.
Alok sir is here, I trust. Alok sir is
Alok sir is here. I have pinned him. He's here, ma'am.
Okay, fine. I can see.
So first of all, I would like to say sorry because I'm traveling and I'm somewhere in between on the road, on the bus stand kind of thing. And because I had to come, somewhere urgently. So I traveled the entire night and now I'm here to, interact with you, everyone. I'm so sorry and thank you, everyone.
The show must go on, inshallah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So I will start, without delaying. Our next panel is on a very interesting topic: clean water, affordable energies. How can a common man contribute? So as we are talking about, SDGs since first day, and I would rather say since we have inaugurated the, or announced the SDG Summit 2022, we all are talking about that everyone has the stake in SDGs. Everyone needs the sustainable life. So in that, everyone has to contribute, education, for, well-being, for health, for energies, for water, for, environment, for, oceans, or, anywhere. we all have to contribute. So through this topic, we are talking about clean water and affordable energies. And we have speakers with us, Mr. Siddharth Bajaj, Ms. Nupur Saha, Dr. Fazlur Rahman, and Mr. Alok Micharai, sir. So, I would say the total volume of the water, out of the total volume of the water, only 2.5% is the fresh water. And out of that, only 1.2% can be used as a drinking water. Globally 785 million people do not have the access to at least basic water services now. And 884 million people did not have safe water to drink till 2020 report. The proportion of global population using safely managed drinking water services has increased to 71% from 61% in 2010. So let's talk to our experts on different manners on affordable energies and clean waters, and how we can, save our energies, and how we can, produce more energies. So,
Dr. Ajit Singh, I'm extremely sorry to intervene. We just missed out on the presence of two rapporteurs, the young students, Ms. Parnika and Ms. Shivani Khattar. So if you could just take them on board, they might unmute themselves and introduce them their own selves. And
yes,
these will be your partners in the
panel. Definitely. So I would come to the introduction first, because I want to listen to our panelists, how they are doing and what they are doing exactly. I would introduce them, but I would listen to them directly, and from them, how they are doing and how their work is effectively working in our environment, in our society, and how they are improving. So I'll start with Ms. Nupur Saha. So Ms. Nupur, welcome, and can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself and about your work, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ajit, for for moderating the session. First of all, I would really like to thank Jamia Hamdard University, GMHA, and CliMed, and especially Mansi for inviting me to speak for such an important topic. I would like to give a brief introduction about myself. I have stayed in a village for 15 years of my life, where there was electricity issue, where there were no proper schools, and we had to study using solar lanterns over there. So that's when I decided that I want to become an engineer. I want to solve the electricity issues in in the country, especially in my own state, and I want to change the scenario. So I worked for 7 years in various firms, in renewable technology firms, and then I've also worked with consultancy firms like PwC. And after that, I decided to start my own firm, Sustain Bhumi Renewable and EV Consultancy. We provide consultancy services to various organizations to solve the sustainability issues. And the climate, we try our best to curb the climate change issues, right? And that's a brief introduction about Sustain Bhumi.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Nupur Saha. I'll move to Alok Micharai, sir. Hello, sir. Can you please unmute yourself and introduce and talk about your work?
Well, good afternoon to everybody. My name is Alok Micharai. I'm so many things in one. I used to be a banker, then I joined the social sector, and I continue to be with the social sector. Especially, I work with an organization called CASA, that is Churches Auxiliary for Social Action, heading their communication and PR division. And I am presently the vice president of the New Delhi YMCA and the president of the Wise Men International in Delhi. With these organizations, I had and I am still working on issues which are being recognized and realized by the UN as their sustainable development goals, and especially the first 6 or 7 of them, that's poverty and hunger and health and good education and gender mainstreaming, and finally on which we will be sharing our views, that is clean water and safe sanitation for all. So this is what I am. I'm presently, as I told you, working with the New Delhi YMCA as its director and as vice president, and both the CASA, that is Churches Auxiliary for Social Action, which I worked for 15 years, and YMCA, which I'm connected with for the last almost 20 years now. We have been addressing the issues which are very important and rightly recognized as very, very valuable segments for sustainable development goals by the UN. And we trust that our working together will work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and glad to have you here on the board to discuss this important topic. Now I'll move to Mr. Siddharth Bajpayee. Mr. Siddharth, can you please introduce yourself and talk about your work?
Thank you so much, Dr. Ajit. I hope I am audible loud and clear. And very good afternoon to everyone on the panel. And I'd like to thank the organizers of this great summit 2022. And thank you so much, Mansi, and great workshop being put up by the team so far. I've been listening to everyone and it's a great session. My name is Siddharth Bajpayee and I serve as the founding CEO of Andromeda Maritime Solutions Private Limited. And as the name suggests, we work in the area of water and try to induce our robotic knowledge in order to uptake and better the water. I have been researching in the area of water and implementable robotics in water for 7 years now. I'm an alumni of RV College of Engineering, Bangalore, and have graduated from Indian Institute of Sciences Center of Excellence in my foster years, where I have learned how to combine robotics for treating the source, which is polluting the water. This is a little bit of an introduction for me, and I would like to speak more as the discussion progresses. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Siddharth. I would now move to Fazlur Rahman, sir. Hi, Professor Fazlur Rahman. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ajit. I'm Syed Muhammad Fazlur Rahman, presently working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Islamic Studies, Jamia Hamdard. And I did my BTech Mechanical, and then I was into Merchant Navy as a Marine Engineer for 7 years. So all these issues of water pollution, SOx emissions, incineration, and biochemical oxygen demands, we were dealing all these things on ship. I'm also founder of an NGO called Fala Research Foundation, in which we are basically focusing on education and plantation drives. So we have carried out plantation drive across India, and I'm very happy to be here, and I hope we will have a fruitful and meaningful discussion. Thank you, one and all.
Now I invite Ms. Parnika and Shivani to introduce. Can you please come and introduce yourself, Ms. Parnika and Shivani?
Good afternoon to one and all present here. So I'm Parnika Vasudeva. I'll be one of the rapporteurs for this session. I'm eagerly looking forward to this very interactive session, and I have a feeling it's going to be really good. I am currently pursuing masters at Jamia Hamdard itself.
Great, lovely.
Thank you.
Ms. Shivani.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shivani Khatter, currently pursuing MPharm in Jamia Hamdard under supervision of Dr. Zeenat Iqbal ma'am. I'm so grateful to be here today. So really looking forward to the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I would come to the panel questions. And my first question would be to Mr. Siddharth. You are doing a commendable job in water recycling, Mr. Siddharth. So can you please brief us about how can we make clean water available to the rural areas and rural India? And then I would add one more question to this. How is your work impacting this agenda?
Thank you so much. And I will not say it's an interesting question, but it's a much demanded question which needs to be answered. One thing that I would like to go back to stats is there are still less than 50% of the population who remain in rural area who are upgraded with the modern day water supply management systems. That is one very important fact that we need to understand. Second, to set the plot of what I talk on, we need to understand that water is one of the most important pillars of the backbone of any economy. And when we are talking in India, I will say that we end up, why I say this, that water is one of the very important pillars of backbones of the economy, is because every year we end up losing around 600 million USD just because we are not able to upgrade our water supply management systems. Now, how is that possible? Because this statement comes up with two background facts. First, very important fact is the way industries get hampered when the water supply is not adequate or over adequate. When I say it's not adequate, I am concerning towards the areas which are mostly drought prone. And when I say it's over adequate, I am trying to point towards area which are mostly flood prone. Now, when you are trying to set up your industrial base in an area which is drought prone, you tend to get less water for your post-processing and pre-processing which are required in order to, do the production level, in order to maintain the quality of standards that you are promising to the customers. And when you are working in a flood prone area, there are two major problems which are behind that. One, the people get infected due to the problems which are there because of water accumulation. That is one major reason behind flood. And second problem is that the industry which are there trying to use water in some concentration are actually getting missed water. And that is what turns around to be the biggest problem, because we are using water as coolants. We are using water as a lot of things in the industry. And that is why we say that water affects the way industries work and the way economy is trying to, take its new shape. This is one part of the question that I wanted to set the theme or the plot of my discussion around. When we say that rural areas, could you repeat the second part of your question? I just want to answer that, Dr. Ajit. You're on mute, sir.
Yes, definitely. I will repeat it. So that is how your mission, how your work is impacting this agenda of, water recycling and to make it available to the rural India.
So Andromeda, we say that we are two category of people who work at Andromeda. One is we are robotic guys. We understand how to make robots. And second is we are the water people. We love water and we want to contribute towards the cause of saving and conserving water. So we clubbed both of these through one of the initiatives that we have launched, which is called as World Water Federation. And in this World Water Federation, Andromeda administers the joint movement of industrialists, academicians, students, whosoever are interested and passionate enough in order to not only discuss, but work towards implementation of those technologies which can take care of the water in the rural areas. Now, when we talk about recycling, one thing that we majorly need to understand is not to overuse water, because the feel of recycling comes into the picture, or the matter comes into the picture when we are overly using the water. So one very important thing is the literacy behind using the water, that is in very adequate quantity. And second is recycling the water that is available after the usage. So when we talk about recycling, this is the World Water Federation initiative that we are doing. Right now, we are collaborated with two NGOs across villages in near Pune and one of the villages near Bangalore, where we have worked in collaboration with Bangalore Water Sewage Supply Board, BWSSB, and have tried to map the total amount of quantified water which is released to the city and districts and villages in Bangalore. And this is the way we are trying to back engineer where and all are those areas which overly use the water and which overly get the water. So recycling back engineered is what our goal is under this WWF forum that we have launched.
Thank you, Siddhant. Thank you very much. And of course, when we have to make something possible to the society, or when we have to make something available to the society, we need the integration of technology with the resources, and you are doing a wonderful job in that area. This is amazing. Thank you very much. Now I'll come to Ms. Nupur Saha. Ms. Nupur, your organization is providing consultancy to various organizations working in sustainability segment. So how do you see the future of sustainable energy solutions? First question to you, and then I'll come to put some more questions to you, because this is the interested topic, and even I, love this topic to discuss with the experts.
Yes. So first of all, the work Siddhant is doing is really amazing, and I would really like to connect with him offline to discuss more about the same. So yeah. So I read a very famous. I keep reading this quote more often. Like while I was doing my master's also in green technology, my professors used to say from NIT Bhopal. My professors used to say that we are living in this planet as if we have another one to go. So sustainability is a major issue, and it has been trying to find the sustainable solution had been my goal or my motive since my childhood. So I was reading a document recently where it was mentioned that 900 million people lack access to electricity, and 1/3 of the population have inefficient cooking system all over the world. So there is a need to bring sustainable solutions or sustainable technologies. We are all aware of the COP26, which happened recently in Glasgow, where Prime Minister has announced the Panchamrit policy, where he wants to commit. He has shown his commitment for the climate change for the India, that how India is going to contribute towards the climate change. We do have a target of 500 gigawatt by 2030. And I'm working with various organizations who wants to proliferate and grow their business in solar rooftop, solar mounted projects, large scale projects. But what about those projects? What about those people living in livelihood, people living in rural area? So that is what is lacking right now, the off-grid renewable energy applications. There is a need to bring more standalone solar pumps, solar street lights, biogas plant, solar power packs. Then there is a need to bring the climate control vertical farming segment, rice mills, where the sustainability or the solar rice mills can be used. So these are the segments which are not explored, and there is a need to bring them. I had discussion with various vendors and various big companies to understand why they are not venturing into this business, because it has a lot of potential and it is untapped right now. So what are the difficulties they are facing is the end user financing to increase the adoption of these technologies. And the second, so basically in case I'm providing an off-grid solution which is of 25,000, where a person can switch on the TV, he can switch on the fans, lights, charge his mobile. But there are a lot of people in the rural area who cannot afford to pay 25,000 upfront cost. So we need the innovative financing solutions for the same. And at the same time, there is a need of the strong monitoring and evaluation framework for such technology. So I recently went to Andaman Nicobar for a project where we wanted to do some consultancy for the solar street lights. I realized the solar street lights are there in those areas for the last 3 years, but they do not operate. So there are no proper operation and maintenance carried out of these street lights once they are installed. So there is a need for strong monitoring and evaluation framework. And as Siddhant has said, that there is a need for the skill development program. The same way there is need for the promotion of the skill development program in the sustainability space as well. So these are the 3 major challenges, and these are the reasons why companies are not ready to venture into this business where they want to sell the livelihood products or these off-grid renewable energy products.
Thank you. Of course, you have defined the sustainability for the energy solutions amazingly. So I would like to ask you, can you give us some examples for the case studies on the sustainable energy solutions, especially for the livelihood products, kind of products, if they are available?
That's a very interesting question, Dr. Ajit. So I would like to start from the worldwide, and then I would like to come to India. In Finland, there is a program where the unemployed youth whoever unemployed youth is there, they have to fill the form, and they are given training on the energy efficiency improvement. So Finland is taking a lot of measures to rebuild their current buildings and to make them more energy efficient. So they have come up with this program. So in case I want to rebuild my home at a very reasonable price with the expert, I have to fill the form, and the youth whom they have trained, who was unemployed, is going to come at my house and do the same. So this is one of the program done by Finland. In Africa, there is a pay-as-you-go model. So there were systems designed in Africa which were of $1,000, $750, where you can get access to electricity, light, fans, but they could not afford that. So what innovative financing solution was introduced is, you have to pay the 10% or 15% of the upfront cost, and the remaining you have to pay in EMI every month. And after a period of 2 to 3 years, the system, you can own the system. So this was a very innovative financing solution which started in Africa, and now it has started in India as well. Then the third one, I would like to quote example of Ladakh. I recently went to Ladakh, like not recently, actually 2 years back, I went to Ladakh, and I realized that there were problems that during winter, we all are aware about the temperature. It is so cold in Ladakh that during winter, the people of Ladakh used to have vegetables and fruits, fresh vegetables and fruits, just once a month. They used to store it in large amounts. Same goes for Bhutan. I realized that. And later on, government has started passive solar greenhouses, which help them to grow more vegetables and fruits. And now they are able to have fresh vegetables and fruit thrice a week. This improved the health of the residents or of the people living over there, and even the quality of life. So this is what I would like to, these are the 3 examples I would like to quote.
Thank you very much. Of course, you have given the example of Ladakh and Finland. These are amazing examples. Actually, we should also set in different domains, not only in the sustainable energy, but for the cleanness and for the healthcare systems and for the education. We have different domains where we have to set examples, and we have to grow more. Because yesterday I heard that someone has quoted the rank of India. It is still very, very low in the SDGs. So thank you very much, Ms. Nupur. Now I would go to Dr. Fazlur Rahman, sir. Today we see a lot of people trying to use renewable energies, but still the awareness is lacking. So how do you think we can create awareness and aid in the shift towards sustainable energy solutions, Dr. Fazlur Rahman?
See, India's share in the total carbon emission is 6.65%. So we need to reduce this, and SDG goal number 7 talks about sustainable energy. For this, we need participation of government, NGOs, as well as citizens and normal people. As far as people are concerned, they must be encouraged to buy those appliances, those electrical appliances which are certified and which consume low power. Now for this, we need support and motivation from government, because for someone who has been using an electrical appliances, one fine day we tell them that go and buy a new appliances, it involves monetary support. So that is one thing where the government needs to support those industries which are making these energy efficient appliances. Second is creating awareness by telling them that you have to buy these applications, these appliances, and for that media, school level awareness program, all these things are required. As on 2019, as far as I remember, India is using 21%, is contributing 21% in the form of renewable energy. But the International Renewable Energy Commission has said that India has got potential to increase this contribution to 33%. So from 21% to 33%, it needs a big motivation and support from government and NGOs. In southern India, the data says that in southern India, people are more aware about renewable wind and solar energy because of the geographical location. they say that wind power and solar power is very less in northern state, and that is because of geographical location. So we see the motivation and the support which is required is more in North India when compared to South India. And also many countries, especially America, they have started this energy awareness week. I think we need to start something similar in India, where we can educate people that what are the benefits of using energy efficient equipments and what are the harmful effects of using traditional based fuel. India is presently using 74% of its energy resources from traditional fuels. That needs to be brought down. So electronic media has also to be taken into consideration. Advertisements, school level workshops, awareness. These things are required at mass level in order to achieve the goal of 2030 of increasing the non-renewable energy contribution from 21% to 33%.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Fazlur Rahman. And you have rightly said, yesterday I was, listening to the report. Actually, someone was stating that, Kerala is #1 state in India for, SDGs. And I have, faced this, and I have actually, saw it. Last night I was in the train and I was crossing entire Kerala. I was coming to Coimbatore from, Mangalore, Karnataka to, Coimbatore. So I was, coming through the Kerala, and I saw that how clean their stations are, how nicely they have maintained, everything there. They have all the solar lights on the, railway stations, and it was really nice, amazing to see. I have clicked some pictures also. It's in my mobile. Otherwise, I would have shared here. So definitely, they are setting one examples. They are setting the examples for all of us in India. So definitely we should all look into that and definitely work on that. Now, so I would come to our next panelist, Alok sir. So Alok sir, can you share your views on how organizations can work together to support each other and build an ecosystem of sustainable solutions to clean water and affordable energies to make them available to the remote parts of the countries or our country, especially in India, because you have that experience, and you have you are the policymaker for that. So can you please share your experience, sir?
Thank you once again, Dr. Ajit Singh ji. It's a very, very relevant question, especially when it comes to realizing the goals, irrespective of which one is that. That is coming together and working together. Because we have always believed that when we start together, we stay together. And we stay together, we strive together. And if we strive together, we succeed together. This is what I feel. So this is the need today to have a proper cooperation, coordination, and collaboration with different agencies, including government and government agencies today, all over the country. I was working with CASA, as I told you. So CASA works basically in the fields of disaster relief, rehabilitation, risk reduction, and more in advocacy and socio-economic sustainable development all over the country, and many places directly and many more places with partners, about 300 partners CASA works with in the country. So one way of reaching out to people across the country, and especially to remote and rural areas, will be developing partnerships with like-minded NGOs or civil organizations. I think personally it is important. Second, we must engage ourselves in communication dialogues, because dialogues, I believe once again that dialogues remove deadlocks. So more we communicate with each other, more we share our information about each other, and public and private partnership especially is important, because we as organizations may not be able to reach to all the places, especially rural areas or remote areas, but if we partner it with the government, maybe we will be able to take the process forward in a more meaningful and better manner. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, do you have some presentation to share?
Yes, I do have.
Yes.
I don't have any PowerPoint.
Okay.
But I have a presentation. I'll share it with you. And before I do that, I must thank the organizers for having invited me here. I want to take the name of Dr. Alam, the Vice Chancellor of the Jamia Hamdard University, and of course, Dr. Jeanette Iqbal for having invited me, besides all others who are a part of this particular initiative, which is very, very valuable in its nature. Before I share briefly my views on this subject, that is clean water and safe sanitation for all, I would like to take all of us to Andaman and Nicobar Islands, where I went in 2004 and stayed there for 5 years following the tsunami which struck the island very badly. There I realized that people were homeless, they were without shelter, without food, without clothes, and much more without water. And the way they suffered, especially, there was water all around, seawater, as I say, and everybody knows, they say that water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. The similar thing was happening there, but thanks to the administration then there, and thanks to many NGOs, about 100 of them, which came together and they worked together, and they finally tried to make homes for them, provide livelihoods for them, and bring their life back to the normal stream. I'm really thankful for that. And there I realized the importance of water. Over 600 years back, I realized, I was wondering what a visionary Rahim was. Kavi Rahim ke baare mein sabhi jante hain. Unhone about 600 years earlier had said, Rahiman pani rakhiye, bin pani sab soon, pani gaya na ubre, moti manus chun. What a visionary he was. Even 600 years ago, this seems there was expectation by him that there'll be a problem with water tomorrow. So he said, friends, save water, conserve water, because otherwise without water, the humankind will suffer. As we all know, the entire earth is, the water content is 71%. But unfortunately, almost 97% of it is in ocean, not fit enough for human consumption, and only 3 or maybe a little less percentage of water is available for human use, unfortunately. That is one reason why we today are suffering. As we know, 50% of the world population is doesn't have proper access to clean water and even sanitization, safe and dignified ones. 71% water in earth, and similarly 71% water in human body. What a coincidence. So I always say, if we take good care of our body ourselves, our life will be happy and healthy. Accordingly, if we take good care of planet Earth, the planet and the people therein will be happy and healthy. And because as a partner to the realization of sustainable development goals, we have to protect the planet and its people, and to ensure the sustainability and the sustainable management of peace, progress, and prosperity of all, in order to make this earth a better place to live in. Challenges are huge, especially when we know that only 2 3.2 billion people are without proper clean water. 4.2 billion people, sorry, it's 2.2 billion and 4.2 billion people are without proper, safe and dignified sanitation services. And 3 billion people don't have the basic hand wash services or facilities today. What a challenge. Pathetic. Incidentally, the solutions to these challenges are equally challenging. And it is one situation I find where the problems, the challenging problems are challenging, and so are the solutions. To tide over this pathetic situation, there are solutions and very humble suggestions which I'd like to make, which once again, coming together and working together, we shall be able to overcome to a very great extent, although I feel, and